Right, on Inside Out this morning, let's talk about Ghanaian youth because you and I are part of the Ghanaian youth. Did you know that yesterday, July 15, 2024, was World Youth Skills Day? Did you know? I bet you didn't. Well, this day is commemorated annually every 15th of July to highlight the importance of providing young people with the relevant skills for employment, decent work, and entrepreneurship. The theme for this year's commemoration was Youth Skills for Peace and Development. Let me tell you what. The Ghana Statistical Service, whose mandate is to provide comprehensive, reliable, quality, relevant, accurate, and timely statistical information to guide national development, provided some data and statistics on youth engagement in the country. And the results, if I tell you, they're startling. Ghana's youth population, that is, those within the age bracket of 15 to 35, is about 10.5 million, a third of the entire country's population. Now, what this means is that for every 3 Ghanaian you come across, 1 out of the 3 is most likely to be within the age group of 15 to 35. Now, considering that range, we should expect that those within that age bracket will either be in school, be employed somewhere, or undergoing some skills training. But it will interest you to know that the Ghana Statistical Service is saying that almost 2 million of these young people aged between 15 to 35 are not in education, they are not in employment, or they are not going through any form of training. This implies that about 20% of the country's youth population, or 1 out of every youth you meet, is pretty much idle. They have nothing to do. And you know what they say about idle hands, right? Well, interestingly, there are more females, which is about 1.2 million, than the men. A little over 700,000 people who make up these idle youth. The Greater Accra region alone accounts for over 500,000 of these almost 2 million idle youth, followed by the Ashanti region with about 352,000, the Central region with about 155,000, as you can see, and then the Eastern region with 143,000, the Western region 137,865. So when you look at it, the top regions, making persons or young people who are idle, they've got nothing to do. They are not in school, they don't have any employment, they are not undergoing any form of training at all. Well, percentage-wise, the Greater Accra had the highest rate, and you see it there, 26.9%, followed by the Northeast region with 19.5%, the Ashanti region with 18.9%, and then the Western region, the Central region, follows, as you can see on your screens. Now, apart from the Bono region, all the regions double percentage figures of idle youth. Also, it will interest you to know that the rate was higher for youth in urban areas, which is 20.6%, than for rural residents. Now, looking at all of these huge numbers of idle youth, and with the elections coming around and threats of insurgents around our country, are we not sitting on a time bomb? Have we also considered that this may be a national security threat? Because governments, every time, every successive government, keep talking about unemployment. They keep launching one scheme or the other about job creation, measures, persons who are benefiting, and most importantly, the question that I want to ask, have they yielded any results? And these programs that they keep launching, how targeted are they? Well, the national security has said that the issue of unemployment is a national security threat. That's how bad it is. So I know that you're watching me, you don't have a job, or you know someone who doesn't have a job. And you're not alone, because I personally know so many young people who do not have a job, and they are expected to live and thrive. Wake up every morning, find something to eat, but they have no job, they are not in education, they are not undergoing any form of training. This is definitely a ticking time bomb. And really, the earlier we do something about it as a people, the better for all of us. That'll be it for Inside Out. I'd like to hear from you on this, on social media. Anyway, so yesterday, the course was empty.
Very, very, very empty. Very, very empty yesterday. Not even Accra alone. Across
the country.
Yeah, so all courts across the country yesterday were shut. The district courts, circuit courts. You know, the district courts are in virtually everywhere. They constitute the majority of the court.
Right.
No show. Circuit court, no show. High Court, no show. Court of Appeal, no show. And then the Supreme Court. As for the Supreme Court, you can understand because they do not sit on Mondays. So on your shot, that is how the premises of the courts were looking like yesterday. So this is the circuit court premises, yes. So when we ran checks over there, we noticed that you see some few cars parked over there, one or two people walking around, and
some people came in not knowing that the court was closed,
some people came in
right?
not knowing. Their cases were fixed for yesterday, so for them, they want to come and see what is happening, and then they came and no show. So yesterday, rightly so, we predicted, and we're right. So that's the Court of Appeal, Civil Division, and Criminal Division was locked, and you could see that it was telling. So at the time that we got there, Court of Appeal would have been sitting. So yesterday we got there, and then so this is how the Supreme Court premises was looking like, as empty as anything you can refer to. So yesterday it was clear. So there were some few guys who came around they didn't know. They said they didn't know what has happened, and so they came to check on their cases and all that, only to be told that they should keep watching GHOne TV.
That's why I keep telling people to read. You know, read any and everything that you find that you...
Sometimes you don't know, but some too
you know,
curious.
Yes, but I mean, okay, this is my policy that, especially as young people, when you wake up in the morning, you're in a country and you want to know what's happening.
Absolutely.
So pick up your phone, log on to starfm.com.gh.
Read a line or two.
Just look at, even if you won't read, look at the headlines. Just to know what's, at least have an idea of what's happening. And then you can, you too, when you won't be faced in, facing such a situation.
I said it clearly, but we have been engaging some of the court users. Why they came to court when Jews also say that they are solidarizing with organized labor. Let's hear.
I was here on Friday morning and I heard court was sitting, so I thought it was all over. But unfortunately, I didn't hear the news until this morning when I came to court.
How far do you come? Where did you come from?
As far as Lashibi.
Lashibi?
Yeah.
Okay. What was the nature of your case?
I wish to withhold that, but I'm wishing for justice from the court, though.
So now that you've been, what were you told?
I was just told the court is not sitting, that the judicial service is on strike.
By who?
I think I heard it from some of the police officers.
So it means that the court in which your case is even not open.
Apparently, all the courts are unsitting.
So now that you are going, what are you hoping for?
I wish to come back tomorrow and check if the court will be opened. I pay maintenance to the court, and my baby mama is supposed to pick it. But because she's not able to pick it, she's asking me to give it to her. So I came here to pay maintenance again. But I don't know if I'm supposed to give it to her or pay it to the court because there's no judge available to sign for her to pick up the money. And she's stressing me, and the case is in court. So obviously, if the judge or court does not say anything on my own, I cannot make a decision, basically.
So how long have you been coming? How often do you come?
I come here almost every month.
Every month to pay maintenance?
Exactly, every month. Yeah.
Why did you allow it to get to that stage?
So, it's a court case, right? And sometimes some of the misunderstandings you can't solve at home, you bring it to court. So basically, since we came to court, I've been following the procedure, I'm good, and I feel like it is even best to pay to the court because I don't need to stress, you don't need to argue. Once I've paid to court and judge have signed and you pick up your money, I am good. So basically, that's why we got here. There was a misunderstanding.
I just in my day today, Yambra and the 15th, Yambra now. By about today, we'll be down to be behind you, court and court. Oh, until whom they are called or quadra until one day. One may have to send the court embado.
To mobile idea, Nipa money, Nicasa, and a catchrem.
Oh, Nimpani, if you ever do, and I have friend on the catching the court embado. Into young coffee.
So those are some of the interesting reactions there yesterday. So some came in, some want to come and pay maintenance because they have issues with their partners and all that. And also, there was one man that I engaged who came around to sell jackets, the judiciary and how people admire jackets and all that. And he was like, Charlie, no show today. I have to
Well, today there will be show. Today,
yes,
today there will be show. So don't worry.
So all those cases, in fact, those cases that did not come on yesterday, the chances that all of them will be called today, but it is likely that they will be adjourned. Yes, some have already been agreed some way, somehow to pick date, but most of them will be called today, and effectively it will be adjourned. The parties will be date and all that. So that is how the premises of the courts were looking like yesterday when GHOne directed members to stay off until such time that organized labor who declared a strike come out with a directive. And now we do know that it is clear. Yesterday, GHOne issued a statement and said everyone to resume work today. So we'll be there to see what will happen today.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, so what cases are expected to be called today?
So one of the cases that suffered yesterday has to do with the cocoa board case. So Dr. Stephen Kobnopuni, Serwaa, and Agricourt Ghana Limited will be in court again today. And that case will be called with the said defense witness for Serwaa and Agricourt Ghana Limited are expected is expected to testify in relation to that. So that's one of the cases that we look forward to today. Then, of course, Angel Gabriel, I always like to call him Collins Dowda, Alaji Collins Dowda. He's always in court in a white apparel. And so today, the case of Saglemi, affordable housing, will also be in court today. And prosecution is calling witnesses, and second prosecution witness is expected in court today in the Collins Dowda case, so that it will continue with the testimony before Justice Ernest Owusu Dapa. And Justice Ernest Owusu Dapa is a justice of the Court of Appeal who is sitting with additional responsibility as a High Court judge. So that is the allowed case that is also come. So we have the Cocoa Board and then the Saglemi affordable housing case involving Alhaji Collins Dowda and then Kweku Ajiman Mensah and then two others. As for the contractor in the matter, we told you that he's passed on, so his records has already been expunged from the records of the court. So that is what we do expect coming. So these are the two cases, and of course, some other cases that will always have chance from them that will come. So we expect a busy court day today, because especially so when yesterday there was no show.
Okay. Will that be all?
That'll
be all for today. Okay, thank you very much, Captain. How's the ADR we going? So
yes.
Today
we
even forgot
a
resumption of
absolutely
the paneling.
So yesterday it didn't happen because for obvious reasons. So today the ADR week will more like start today, and we expect a full session on that. So all courts, 138 courts, 103 of them are district court, and I told you that district court are spread all over the country, and then all of them, in fact, are engaging in ADR, and then 35 of them will be engaging in circuit courts. 35 of them will be circuit. I said 138. So 103 district courts, and then 35 of them will be at the various designated circuit courts. So all these courts, when you go there, you have the chance to resolve your cases using alternative dispute resolution. This is the second term in relation to what the Chief Justice's directive is, to use the system to adjudicate on cases, which is cheap, flexible, faster, and in fact, it's a win-win situation for both parties. It's not like the court would deliver a judgment and one person is a winner and the other person is a loser. This one, both of you agree. Mediation, you agree on your own terms, and then you go home smiling. So ADR week is still on. Throughout the week, we'll give you an update on that. Thank you, Serwaa.
Thank you very much, Captain, for bringing us these updates. You're welcome back to the show. This is GH Today. I am Serwaa Amihere, and it's time for the breakfast review. I'm joined in the studio by Kwame Jantwa Esquire. He's a member of the CPP. Mr. Jantwa, you just want to be addressed as that? Again? As a member of the CPP?
I just want to be a what?
Addressed as a member of the CPP?
I'm a member of the CPP. What else do you want to address me by?
Okay. Dr. Palgrave Wachidankwa is government spokesperson on governance and security. Good morning, Palgrave.
Good
And
morning.
Anthony Julius is a member of the NDC's communications team. Good morning.
Good morning.
You're all welcome to the show. How are you? I'm doing well. I'm doing very well. Thank you.
You're looking pretty.
Thank you, Mr. Jantwa. Okay, I want us to start off with what we looked at on Inside Out. Very quickly, then we can talk about other issues because today I want us to cover all the issues that we intend to talk about. The Ghana Statistical Service says nearly 2 million young people are idle. That means they have no job, no education, and they are not under any form of training. And I'm happy that Palgrave is here because we have been in the past told that the issue of youth unemployment or even unemployment is a ticking time bomb and is a national security threat. And successive governments have made promises, they have launched programs aimed at fixing this problem. But it appears that we're not really making any headway. Palgrave.
So a very good morning to you and a very good morning to my colleagues on the panel and to your viewing public. I'm told that all politics is local, so let me greet my constituency. A very good morning to the good people of Achimbe-Boakwa North constituency. And today is Ohum, and so Dasibre Piasa the 4th would be meeting and lifting up the ban on Ohum. And over the weekend as well, the Osaji Famoti of Penny will be celebrating the big Ohum at Chibi. I read this story yesterday, and one of the things that I said was that these are our future leaders. That if we, and I mean, I respect the work that GSS does. I respect the methodology that they used in bringing out these findings. What this does help with governments is that it shapes governments' policies and also positions governments in a way where we can be able to address the very teething issues of young people. When you look at the data as it's been put out, that close to about 2 million people are not within an environment of either work, and this was at the backbench of celebrating World Youth Skills Day, which was over the weekend.
It was yesterday.
Yes, to be able to state very clearly that there is a need to equip young people for the generations that are ahead. You asked about government's intervention programs. Yes, of a truth, our government and the government of President Danko Akufo-Addo has had a lot of skill intervention programs for young people. When you look at the YEA, which is the Youth Entrepreneurship, Youth Employment Agency, the number of skill programs that we put in place for young people, it may not be able to reach the numbers that is in our expectation, but we're inching up gradually. If you look at these Kaya years that we put them into a skill enhancement program and built a facility for them as well, it's in preparation towards that. I'm concerned that we are growing in our numbers. The research states that by the time Ghana gets to about 2050 thereabouts, we would have a total population of about 52 million thereabouts. And so it bewills on governments to ensure that we meet the skill needs of the young people. And we'll commend GSS and we'll look at the data and see how we can continue to be able to bring in a lot more skill enhancement programs that would focus on young people.
But these skill enhancement programs, Palgrave, would you agree with the people who say that they are not targeted enough? Because quite a number of them have been launched, and we're still seeing these numbers. Are we launching them because we have to launch them, or we are actually targeting the people who need it?
Well, so one of the things that I can say is that all skill enhancement programs are very targeted on the unskilled people of young people. But you know, when you have large numbers, you are always scooping out, and I'm sure that this data would have been more had it not been for some interventions that the government of President Danko Akufo-Addo has put in. Which is why, for me, I'm stating that picking the data from GSS and also comparing the data of what government is doing, complements each other, because had government not come in, we would have had more numbers than we do have now, which means that government needs to do more, and our government promises to do more within the period that we have, to be able to do more before we go into the electioneering cycle that we have, which is why government has implemented, look at the NEIP, the National Entrepreneurship Program, look at the Ghana Enterprise Agencies, some of the World Bank projects and grants that have come in. It's all to enable that we have a lot more skill enhancement. But government will do more, and government promises to do more, so that this number in the foreseeable future will reduce significantly from 2 million to about 1 million, and thereby to about 500,000, and then we can get to a zero percentage.
Mr. Janswa,
Yes.
your thoughts?
Good morning to our viewers. Good morning to you. Good morning to fellow panelists. And unfortunately, I have lost a close cousin, a Champim Hine of Ashanti. Died on Thursday. So that's a big funeral in the family. That's a big funeral for Menchia. May his soul rest in perfect peace. Apparently, Otumfo is out of town, so we don't have any arrangements as yet from my investigations. So hopefully, when he gets back, we will be able to do his 1 week observation. Now, to the topic. You said, you indicated that, and Palgrave indicated that there have been many programs, YEA, NEA, all these things. How have those programs been put together? What has been the plan for the youth? First point of call, do we have career guidance centers in this country? Because look, I'm the chairman of the Ghana Energy Awards, and what we do is that when we, the personality, men and women, personality of the year are chosen, we have an outreach program where they go into secondary schools to tell the children how they made it and some of the things that need to be done. And you realize a lot of the children in our SHS schools do not know even the subjects to choose. And so it actually starts from the classroom. And I don't think we put these schemes and training colleges together to train the youth, actually targeting and finding out exactly what are some of the things that our young people want to do. Because there are quite a number of people, after secondary school and after university, the next thing they want to go into is politics because they don't know what to do. And they feel politics is an area where you can, earn a living. But politics is for service. It's not for making money, which people don't tend to understand. And so what is the plan? We brought in free education. President Akufo-Addo brought in free education. What was the plan for free education? Was it just for children, or the youth to be able to enroll and go to school in their droves? Or was there a specific plan as to how free education would work to the end of a person's educational ability? So from the youth, you get into primary school, you get into GHS, you get into SHS, then you get into university. Then after that, you hope to get a job. But you would have been directed in a certain way that enables you decide what you want to do. Does that happen today? Even artisans. Really, what is there for artisans? Somebody who wants to be a plumber, somebody who wants to be an electrician, somebody who wants to go into construction, somebody who wants to go into paving. How are they guided? And the report tells us that female, 1.2 million That is crazy. That is crazy. That's a crazy number. When Palgrave talked about Kayayo, is Kayayo work? If you want to do what you call it for Kayayo, is it work? Is it meaningful employment? Because you see, the other thing we don't do, we don't link people's earnings to some of the work that they can do. So as you grow older, you progress and you hope your earnings too will progress. Does it happen with the youth, 15 to 35? The young man here is a youth. He's into politics. Ask him how he started. So it hasn't, so far as I can see, it hasn't been targeted properly. Because if we've been doing this over and over again, change of government comes, they bring their own. Change of government comes, they bring their own, but it's not making any impact. Who has sat back to say, come, this thing doesn't seem to be working. We need to do it differently. Who has? Or is it just to show people that we are helping the youth? How? And the how is where the challenge is. Because in the urban areas, it's greater. Greater Accra is 565,360.
That's it over there.
That's a lot. And you drive around Accra and you see young children begging at traffic light junctions. And you ask yourself, if there's free education, why are these children begging? So, what is the plan? How are we going to make sure that we can reduce it? But, most interestingly, there was a significant decline from 24.1% in quarter 3 of 2022 to 18.2% in quarter 3 of 2023. So there has been some decline. What has created that decline? And why haven't we been able to decline it further? Well, it could be government interventions. But do you know that when you take interns on, they don't get paid?
Yes.
They don't get paid. Why is that? So how do you expect them to live? How do you expect them to have a rational mind when they come into GHOne as an intern? How? If they can't find 2 pennies to take transport from their home to GHOne in the morning. And so there needs to be a much, much deeper plan in how we do it. And it shouldn't be a partisan thing. You see, it seems as if the politicians use it as a yardstick, as a trophy to say, we've done X for the youth. This is one thing where politicians should sit together. There has to be a national discussion on it. Parliament, teachers, parents, have a national discussion on how we are going to direct. I'm not interested in talking about the problems. I'm looking for solutions. Because these youth are the next generation to take over. If they don't have the wherewithal to be able to understand what it means to have employment, then it's challenging for the country. I would even feel we are an agricultural country. Make agriculture sexy enough for the youth to go into it. And what do I mean make agriculture sexy enough? It's not just a matter of growing food. The progression, the value chain, where as you grow food, you can add value to it. You can see a business at the end. Train the young ones in that line so that they go in and they know at the end there's something that can come out of it. But even if it's not added value, everybody eats every day. Everybody has to eat every day. And so we need to be able to target the youth into agriculture. All of us in this country should have a small farm somewhere. All of us. What does it do? It brings the price of food down. But then if we turn it into a business, and agriculture is profit worthy, depending on what you grow. And that direction should be. So we spent 300 million last year in importing onions. Are you saying we cannot push young people into growing onions, growing tomatoes, growing okra, growing plantain, growing all these? Can we not do it? Agriculture is good business. Agriculture is that kind of business where if you do it properly, you earn quite a lot of money. So for me, it's got to do with the plan. How are we planning? So these statistics have come out today. What are we going to do about it to make sure that at least we continue to reduce the numbers? Because quite a lot of young people today are desperate, aren't they? Quite a lot of young people today don't know their left from their right. They need guidance. Quite a lot of young people come to me for guidance, and I help them. I do a lot of work with the AGI, with young women who have young businesses, who are starting and going into business. Do a lot of mentorship with those young people who want to go into business. And I think the private sector should also take it on. Do it as a corporate social responsibility. Go out there, have clinics with some of these young people, and teach them what you know. It helps the country, and it helps them.
Julius.
Thank you very much. And it's a pleasure to meet Senior Counsel again. And good morning to you, Honorable Palgrave. I would not want to start on a note of greeting any constituents, but I would want to send regards to the 275 members of Parliament who presently are watching the Minister of Transport's LI in Parliament. And the days are ticking for it to count. A society where we think that when problems we create for the larger society exist, what we can do as a governing class is to create privileges for ourselves that are grossly disproportionate to the larger public, so that we do not feel the pinch of the problems we create, but simply say that, well, we get into traffic and we find it. This is the same way Ghanaians get into traffic and they suffer. So my regards is to those people first, and then back to the conversation. The reason why I'm saying that is because unemployment is part of the problems you create for the larger society. And instead of solving it, corruption becomes the ways for the governing class to get out of it, so that they do not feel the pinch of it. It's the same thing. They are related, Serwaa, and that is why I want to start on that note.
Sure.
So please, that LI is something that should not suffice. And the commentaries I see on it from both sides, for me, I do not think it's fair to the larger Ghanaian public, and I'll represent that view, regardless of what anyone else thinks about it. That LI does not serve the interests of Ghanaians, and let's move on from there.
But your members, your party is in support of it. Precisely.
Yes.
But since he wants to start from that
yes,
note, it's okay.
I want to send my regards to them on that note. Now back to the issue of unemployment. We are facing this issue because for far too long we've not been honest to ourselves as to the real problems of Ghana. We feel that we can just throw out statistics and tell the people of Ghana we have created this number of jobs. And that becomes the solution to the real problems that people are facing. The first question you ask when these figures are thrown out is, where is the 2.1 million jobs that have been created in the period of 2022 alone, which Vice President Amihere represented to us? Where's the 2.1 million jobs? If you created 2.1 million jobs between the period of 2021 to 2022 alone, then we should not be having these figures being thrown at us. The statistics tell us, Ghana Statistical Service, that unemployment increased from 8% as of the time they took over government to 14% as of today. But this government still tells us that they create 2.1 million jobs that
But you heard Mr. Janswa say that the numbers have declined over a period. And so we've made some progress. It may not be as substantial as we wanted it, but we've made some progress.
Well,
you can't deny that.
Well, if you would let me land the point. The point is this. If you say that we've made substantial progress.
I didn't say that. I said we've made progress. Good. It may not be substantial, but we have made some progress.
The issue with that is that if you throw statistics of that nature to the people and tell them that, well, it was 8% when I took over, it became 14%, but for a period, let's say last year and this year, it has declined by this number. Because the argument you want to make is that there has been some 5% or so reduction as compared to the same last quarter of 2022.
But these surveys are conducted yearly, annually. So if progress has been made last year, it's important to put it out.
If you let me land my point, I'm sure you get what I'm driving
you can go ahead.
If we are supposed to throw those figures at Ghanaians and tell them that we have solved the problem, the issue you are failing to deal with is that we are dealing with real human beings here. Now, if a period between the time you took over government, we had an unemployment rate of 8%, it increased to 14%. What you are failing to account for is that within that period, it is real human beings that have been suffering because the system has failed to take care of those people. And so if you take the figure and tell us that, well, there's been a 5% reduction within the same period last year, and so you have solved the problem. You have not solved the real problem. More so, when the initiatives you've been taking, as lawyer rightly stated, do not target the people who are suffering, but target the political class. Let's take the projects that the government has been initiating, that Honorable Palgrave was talking about. NAPCO, we were told at the end of that project that government used over 2.2 billion on NAPCO alone. What has been the outcome of NAPCO? I have been a strong critic of that initiative. The reason is as simple as this. What do we do with such projects? It is a disguised unemployment scheme. I've repeated it for far too many times. You create a situation where there are no real value chains that you have created by the initiative. Then you take people and say, you, go and sit at this ministry. We are training you. You, go and join this service. We are training you. And at the end of the day, you throw people out when the projects do not succeed. At the end of the NAPCO, where are the trainees? We had a situation where the trainees were not even being paid their stipends during the training process. Yes, the monies are gone. If you do these initiatives and you later tell the people that you have invested in initiatives that are going to create an employment, it is not going to work. That is the problem we are facing. The same thing. We have doubled these so-called youth employment initiatives in Ghana so many times. Now we have NEIP, we have GE, Ghana Enterprise Agency, we had NAPCO. These names just keep coming, one too many, and the real problems exist. If you want to solve unemployment problems, lawyer laid a foundation. What is the cost of fertilizer as we speak? If I go into farming, and I come from an area where there's large lands for farming activities, but it's a risk the young person is not willing to take. Why should I do that when the price of fertilizer last year has doubled over 200% just between the period last year and this year? Why should I go into such an enterprise? Where should I invest in it? When lending rate is up high, why should I go there without any support from the government? These are real areas that we need to be targeting, supporting real people who have taken real initiatives and get them to create real value chains that actually creates employment for people. If you say Kaya, you wait for somebody, the person has left his village out of desperation, becomes a head porter. Then you take the people 3 weeks, you take government resources and say you are training them. In what real training, what real initiatives takes 3 weeks to train people and sets them up to be able to do something meaningful? Let's face the reality. These things do not go to solve the real problems we are facing. And when you say you are training people into these initiatives, say hairdressing, all of these things we say, not to undermine those sectors. Of course, there's a lot of revenue in that area. But it is a service industry. Service industry cannot work well if you put too many people in it and manufacturing does not match up with it. We can't all go and be selling hair products when the larger majority of us don't know how it is made in the first place.
But that's the basis of our economy, isn't it? It's not right.
That is why, I get it. It's the basis of our economy. It means that we should be solving that problem. So now you take people 3 weeks and you tell them that you have trained them into these service sectors. The reality is that no government who does any real mathematics, who does any real evaluation of policy, would invest in that because the outcome will not bring what you are expecting. Temporarily, you make that person you put through that process feel that you have done something for them. But in the long run, they'll realize that the market will not favor it. How many people will be in that area selling hair? How many people will do that? That is what we are doing with this country. And if we keep on doing these things, repeating the same things and expecting different outcomes, it's not going to work. That is why every time I ask the question, you can't come to the people and think that by simply throwing out figures at them, you have solved the problem. And it is why we are here. You can't come to the people by thinking that simply by couching a slogan, couching a name for an initiative, you have solved the problem. That is what we are dealing with. Several names, no outcomes. And that is why if I question the fact that where are the 2.1 million jobs, it needs to be interrogated. The figures are not real. The figures do not speak to the realities of the people. It needs to be interrogated. You can't tell them that a statistic says it has reduced by 5% and it means you have done better. Even that, the question is, compared to when you took over government, the question is you are supposed to be improving on what you've gotten, not depreciate it. And then if there's a slight improvement, you say, yes, hooray, I've done well, clap for me. What are we talking about? So please, the unemployment problem we are facing is because of this failure of targeting. The second thing I want to talk about, and lawyer made a fantastic point, politics is not career. But the problem we have created in this society is that we have created a situation where people think that joining politics is a means to their personal ends. The reason
why did you join politics? You fall within the brackets, the
yes.
15 to 35.
Yes,
why did you join politics?
Well, I joined politics because I feel that I have a view which must be represented. One of those views is what I've just said, that we should not have a political class that thinks that when the general problem exists for all of us, they can create privileges for themselves that puts them outside the problem.
I hold the same view, but I'm not a politician. You have to be a politician to air such views.
Well, the fact that you don't have to be a politician to air that views does not mean that I don't have to be a politician to air it.
I'm just asking you. Hold on, Julius.
Yes.
I'm asking you, because you brought up the reason people enter into politics.
And you didn't even allow me to land that point.
But you have said
And
you
you started
made your
asking questions,
initial,
which I have answered. And
your
you're saying that you
initial
don't have to
point
join. And I'm saying
that
the fact
people
that you
join,
don't have to
people
join does not
believe.
mean I
Hold
don't
on,
have to join.
let me land. People appear to enter politics because they think it's a means to an end.
Yes.
And I'm asking you, why did you enter politics?
And I clearly represented that to you.
To air your views.
Not to air my views, that I feel that we have a society that feels that the solution to the problems we have is for the political class to create privileges for themselves that put them outside of it. We need people who remind them that you don't have to do that. That is why when I started the point and I said that issue about the airline, the question you asked me was that people in my political party support it. And I clearly told you that it doesn't mean that I should. So if you feel that everybody must be outside of politics to represent them, yes, you are in the media to represent that view. I'm into politics to represent that view, and I'm telling you that is why I'm in it. And I am telling you again that part of the problems we face as a society is because nobody is willing to point these things out.
But
Because
would you admit
Mr. Johnson, let him finish.
This particular issue is not only the current government. It's
But-
also
but-
got to
but-
do
but-
with.
but-
It's also
but-
got to do
Mr.
with.
Johnson,
all
you
the
let him.
governments that-
Mr. Johnson, you let him land.
if something has been apparent in this conversation so far, is the fact that I am willing to represent to you that the particular issue I am talking about, the one I started with, for example, is not a question of which government.
No, we're talking
proposes and
about
which
this
doesn't.
one, this
Yes,
particular one.
and this particular issue of unemployment. Yes, it is not only a function of this government,
Precisely.
but it's a function. It's an issue that has exacerbated over the period. More so because this particular government has invested into initiatives which outcomes cannot be seen. I started on and saying that NAPCO, for example, what is the outcome for the 2.1 billion, $1 billion that has been invested in it, Ghana cedis, sorry. If we are supposed to do a real-time analysis as to that investment, if you were a private person and you invested that money, you would be doing an analysis as to the outcome you have gotten out of it. When it comes to government, you know what analysis they do. It's a matter of how many figures they can stand on a public platform and chant to the larger Ghanaian public. No evaluation as to the real outcome on the impact of the lives of people.
Is that what your government did?
That's what I was going to ask him. Mr. Johnson, please.
My government did
Thank you.
My government did not set up an initiative like NAPCO
No,
and tell them that. That's not what my government did. And in any case-
Julius, putting out numbers is not only in regard to, unemployment figures. I mean, your government
Precisely.
has touted many times how the economy was performing under them with figures.
Precisely.
They didn't measure the
governance
impact.
is a continuum.
Hold on.
Good.
They didn't measure the impact of those figures on the ordinary Ghanaian. But here, you don't want these people to put out figures.
Let me
if we
solve,
don't
let me
use
solve
the
that
figures,
for you. Let me solve that for you.
Please
For
do.
example,
Yes.
if the NDC government should tout the value of a CD in 2016, for example, and tell you that if the CD is exchanged at 3.8 Ghana cedis, okay, it is better than a situation where it is exchanged for 15 Ghana cedis as of today. I can measure the real value on the impact on Ghanaians for you because I can tell you that if I take 10 million Ghana cedis, and you can take your calculator and let's do it. If I take 10 million Ghana cedis as of that time in 2016, and I'm supposed to exchange it for $1, how much would I be getting? Serwaa, if I take 3.8 and I multiply it by that figure, 10 million, I would be getting in 2016, how much in dollars? Over $3.8 million. If I take the same 10 million Ghana cedis today and I exchange it for $1, what would I be getting? 800,000 or what? Less than $1 million? That is the real impact on an individual. Because if I'm a businessman, my spending capacity in an import-driven economy depends on how much I am able to get in exchange for Ghana cedis, which I raise domestically. That is real impact on people. And so when we take the figures and we are talking about real impact of people, we mean business. That's what we are talking about. So the same
government's
way,
plan to tackle unemployment and this problem. What is the NDC's plan?
Well, the NDC's plan on unemployment, for example, one of the policies that the NDC is proposing is the training of young people in IT. President Mahama has proposed this in the 2020 election in the People's Manifesto. The issue here is that if we talk about improving our economy and driving it on digitalization, we need a situation where people are actually skilled and will be able to benefit from that area. And that is why President Mahama is saying that we are training people in coding and other ICT environments. We are not only going to do that and leave them out there. We are going to create enabling environments for them to be able to do that. That is why we have the data center built by President Mahama. We are going to create an ICT hub, an ICT village. The DAWA project is there to lend credence to what such initiatives look like when you create such hubs. We are talking about the Women's Bank, for example. If you look at the statistics that is out there, they are telling us a whopping 1.2 million young girls are not employed, they are not in any skill training, they are not in education, none of that. the Women's Bank is going to deal with some of those issues, because if you are a young lady today, let's even talk about the service sector. That's I was saying that putting more people there does not solve any problem. Let's even say that someone wants to go into that place. If I want to go into selling cosmetic products, hair products, and all of those things, and I need a loan to start, what is the interest rate today? Very high. And so President Mohammed's proposal that the Women's Bank is going to help young people comes in handy, looking at the situation we are facing. Women are the people who are suffering the brunt of the situation we are facing in this government. And so a lesser interest rate, a lesser lending rate comes to save them in that situation. That is how that policy is going to work. And so if we do not put out policies that are well targeted, the data speaks to the fact that a policy like the Women's Bank is targeted at a problem. The problem clearly is reflected in this data. If you take NAPCO and these things, we do not trace any data. Yesterday we are training people. Now you can't tell us which people you have trained, which sector has been improved by those training, none of those things. It doesn't work. And that is why policies like this work. And so please, when we are talking about people being ignored and figures being thrown out without the real impact on the people, we mean it. We mean it. We are not just saying it. We mean it. If you tell us you created 2.1 million jobs, where are the people? If you created new jobs between 2021 and 2022, 2.1 million, we should not be having these figures. And if you look at government's own data, I usually don't speak to this issue because it comes with a bit of anger when you are within a certain bracket of people who are facing the brunt of a failed society. And politicians come out and tell you that these are the figures, we have done this, but you can't feel it on yourself. It becomes very annoying. When I talk about the 2.1 million jobs claim, it's because when you look at every single government data, if you refer to the Ken Oforiatta's then budget itself, it will show you that the public sector has 688,000 people. CGS report will tell you that the state-owned enterprises were employing only 68,000 people. GRA will tell you that less than 580,000 people were added to the taxpayer base, which shows that if anyone tells you that private sector they created jobs in millions, it's a lie. All these things go on in a society that wants to create more and more privilege for politicians. And when we speak about these things, you question it. So again, I want to make that point clear. The suggestion that if we speak about these issues, it's a matter of just throwing out figures and the NDC does it and the MPP also does it. It is not true. It is because the figures does not lend credence to the things the MPP says. That is why we say that you can't just be throwing figures about and claim that you are convincing the public. And if we want policies to work for the Ghanaian people, let's do real targeting, like the way I am saying that the Women's Bank policy is going to do a real targeting and solve a problem. Let's do real targeting and say that the training of 1 million people in coding for young people is going to do real targeting and solve that problem. Thank you very much.
All right. Paul Grave, you want to react to that?
No.
You don't? Mr. Jantwa, you want to react to him? No. Let's move on.
If we do not put a plan in place, let's forget it. You see, this
We'll
this is the reason why I keep saying we need a national development plan, which puts everything together. Governments change, perpetual succession comes in place. We have one plan for the youth, and we all follow it. Period.
All right. Okay, let's move on. So I'm sure that you all may be aware of the proposed amendments to the road traffic regulations that will exempt MPs, the head of states, the vice president, the speaker of parliament, the chief justice, ministers of state from speed limits while carrying out official duties. This also allows them to use sirens, and I have seen a lot of reaction to that. Julius has clearly showed us and told us that he's very unhappy with it. Paul Grade, did you come here with a siren?
No,
You did not?
Interested how you asked that.
I'm curious.
I wish I did.
Are you sure? I will go outside and check.
So I wish I did. I have followed the conversations.
Yeah,
we're having a conversation. We're having a conversation.
But what shows that he doesn't?
I wish
because he's a government spokesperson on governance and security. You must need some protection, no?
I wish I did,
and get to places early.
I wish I did, but I don't. I'm a simple citizen of Ghana. I pay my taxes. I go to work like every other person goes to work, public, private. Citizens do go to work. I follow the conversations on the airline. I don't think it's needed, to be honest. Fair fact. I've lived around the world. I've seen how very, very developed countries have had their own lives in terms of development and growth. What I would say is that there are some key essential officials that on some emergencies might need sirens. And I'll state it. For me, I think that the most important agency that needs siren is the hospitals. Hospitals need sirens. When someone is sick, we need to make sure that the person gets to the nearest hospital on time because lives are important. If you're a politician, if you're a minister, if you're a speaker, whichever ranking that you are, and you need a siren, my simple solution is wake up early. Wake up early so you can avoid the traffic. Wake up early, avoid the traffic. And successive governments and future governments have sought to handle our transportation system quite well, which is why the government of President Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo had to look into railway. Because when you go to very developed countries, people don't own vehicles. I mean, people don't own vehicles because the transport system is working very well. You're at a bus stop at a particular time, you are waiting for the bus or the tram or the train to come in 5 minutes, in 2 minutes, in 3 minutes. You're able to work with time. And so I don't think that we should have a conversation around sirens being given to ministers, deputy ministers, state-owned agencies and government officials and security officials. I don't think that we need an ally for that. I think there are very, very pertinent issues bordering Ghanaians that the legislative arm of government should focus on and to bring legislative to that. But I don't think that if we have 270 plus MPs with sirens, you can imagine the chaos.
And it's not just limited to them.
You can imagine the chaos. You can imagine the number of cars that they have. You can imagine the chaos. When I was young, we used to have this railway toys that we used to play with, and we used to go all around with the machine and everything. Imagine having all these number of vehicles in town and the chaos that would provide. I think we need some level of sanity.
You mean Thomas the Tank Engine?
Yes, you remember? you remember those toys that we used to have?
We all played with this.
And then sometimes it topples off the floor. When there's someone is trying to hit your car and everything. I think we need some discipline. We need some focus. We don't need an ally. We don't need any minister running around with siren. If you are
They
late
say that they need to beat deadlines.
No, I would say my proposal is wake up early. Wake up early, get to your place on time. We've always
Then what makes them different or special?
You don't need to be different. You don't need to be different. You don't need to be special. I don't think so. I don't think you need to be different. I don't think you need to be special. And the president is important, definitely. For security reasons, you can afford to give the president some security and some siren. The vice president is important. The legislative speaker is important. The chief justice is important. A few security couples are important. But any other thing, I don't think we need that. I don't want to live in a chaotic society. I've come from a very structured environment that I want to be able to see that it's replicated here. And I don't want us to set up an ally that in the near future would cause issues for myself, cause issues for the generation that is growing up. And so I don't think that the ally should be something that we should focus on, clearly.
Julius.
Important things are railways.
Yeah.
Important things are hospitals to be given sirens to go to the nearest hospital, save lives, and I think that's important.
Julius.
Yeah, I agree entirely with him. He spoke clearly my views at the start of this conversation, and my reasons remain the same. The privileges we accord the governing class must be relatively proportional to the standard of lives of the general mass of the people. Nobody is saying that those who govern us, those who serve us, should not have little privileges that enable them to serve us properly. Far from that. We can't have a society like that. For example, we cannot expect that when President Akufo-Addo shows up at a particular place, his security should be dropped because we do not walk around with security. That would be insane. He's the president of the republic. He should be accorded that. It's as simple as that. We cannot expect that the same treatment which is given the Chief Justice, for example, should be given to the Circuit Court judges as well. No, we are not saying that. But when you bring rules that make you look like you are creating demigods among a society that is suffering, among a society that has proven to be retrogressing over the period, the masses would eventually rise up against the political class. And that is the situation we are driving at. And the point is that we seem to forget that the people we are governing are not blind people. They are not deaf people. They can hear. And they are not people without sensitivities. They feel the hardship every day. And then you wake up every single day, you think about how do we get above this hardship? And when you think about how do we get above this hardship, it is not about, well, let's fix these problems so that we all get above this hardship. No, it is about let's create caveats for ourselves so that we get above the hardship and the rest of the people remain in it. If we want to solve the transportation problem in the capitals of this country, the issue is about making sure we have railways so that long-distance transportation goes on there, then intercity activities go on the road. That is the way we go about solving problems in society. And so if you create this problem, because we have not been able to think long-term for a very long time, and then the politicians think that, well, for us, we are late to work. Yes, the person who works as a corporate person is also late to work. The Makola woman carrying his things, the person you tax to give yourself privileges, is also late to work. And so why do you think that they can be late to go and work, generate the taxes for you to put sirens on vehicles they have bought for you? Why do you think they can be late to go and do their works and you are not able to go to work late? Why do you think it makes any sense? And so please, I do not support this idea. It doesn't matter who else supports it. It is not something we should be doing as a country at this point. It does not make any sense. The LI should not have been thought of in the first place. When it was late, it should have been faced with protests by the members of parliament by now. That is why I feel that it's a great sense of disappointment for me. Because ordinarily you would expect that at least one or two people will come and say, this thing there, no, stop it. But we are not getting that signal, and it doesn't make sense to me. And this whole idea, and the reason why I felt a bit of angst when I spoke on this whole LI issue, and the question is, we have members of your side support. And I'm like, why do we all have to think that way? Why should we have a situation where we feel that things that are obviously wrong like this should be supported? Clearly, one of the things I appreciate this morning is to be able to have a conversation where Honorable Power Graves disagrees with something that the member of a member of his government, the Minister of Transport, has put before Parliament. If we build a society where there is nothing that we can say, no, this one here should not be done, simply because of who is doing it, not because of what is being done, we are creating a problem. And that is what I want us to take away from the conversations this morning. It's important that we realize that there are some things that we should just draw the line. No, you can't do this. And it's as simple as that, because it does not make logical sense. So please, the members of parliament have a number of days. I think 21 days. The LI has been laid. That number of days has not expired. A vote of two-thirds majority will take that thing out of parliament if the minister himself does not withdraw it. I believe that the minister would withdraw it himself. I believe strongly that the minister will withdraw it. If the minister does not withdraw it, the members of parliament have a duty on them, a duty they owe to their constituents. Because if you go and you are in parliament, you are representing the Makola woman who is also late to work. You are representing the members of your constituents who also stay in the Accra traffic. You owe a duty to them to tell the minister that this one cannot be done. It should end there. That is my view on this matter, and I think we should not be led by it.
Infantile decision by members of parliament. Very infantile.
But Mr. Jansford, these people, they already use it. Are we oblivious to that fact? I mean, I'm just wondering, because we see them use it. The MPs use sirens all the time. You haven't seen MPs use sirens?
Really?
Why?
Palgrave, do you see MPs use sirens?
Why?
I do.
Yes. You mean, Julius, you haven't seen an MP using a siren before?
I know the ministers use it.
When they are sitting in their 4x4s, do you know who is in it? Do you know who is in it? And you know what's going to happen? Everybody with a 4x4 will put a siren in their car. It goes to show the failure of successive governments in this Fourth Republic, giving us a good transportation system, giving us a good public transport system. Goes to show. Go to other places. Someone sent a TikTok, video of the finance minister of India on a train. On a train. The Netherlands Prime Minister, who finished his term, he left. He left their Flagstaff house on a bicycle. But remember, in that country, there's a culture of riding bicycles. What is our culture? Is our culture sirens? And anyway, who put the parliamentarians there? Is it not the people? Have they come to the people to ask them? And what do they need the sirens for? What do they need the sirens for?
Well, one member of parliament has defended it. He's given reasons why.
Reasons being what?
He says that, so they need to meet their schedules.
Which schedules?
They have to ensure and enhance productivity, considering the heavy traffic conditions in Accra.
Serwaa, let me ask you a question. So let me ask you a question.
And he says it is unfair, the way you people are bashing the thing.
Serwaa, let me ask you a question. Do I work with GHOne?
No,
What time do I get here every day?
by 6:30.
Since
6.
by how many years now?
Consistently, at least since I started
Because
hosting the show.
because I know I have a responsibility and I have to be here early. If I know I can't make it, I will call you and say I can't make it. Or a day before, I will call and say, what makes it difficult for a parliamentarian to wake up early? What makes it
They
difficult?
don't sleep early. They work
They work till.
through the night.
You wanted to be a parliamentarian, didn't you want to? And you think it's an easy place to work? Is it an easy place to work?
And the Apia Kubi says that they need to meet their work schedules. And so I want to read exactly what he said, okay? He said, hold on a second. He said that they have an assigned duty to work for Mother Ghana. So he doesn't see why they have to impugn hatred, jealousy because of this.
Jealousy.
Yes.
Do you, Serwaa, do you have an assigned duty to work for Mother Ghana?
Yes.
We all have an assigned duty to work for Mother Ghana. And you put yourself forward to be voted for. And the people saw it fit because they felt you were the right person to represent them. And then you go into the House of Parliament and you want to now come and do a sit on our necks. Even now, with the kind of sirens we have around, does it not cause problems for us?
Precisely. And I'm also wondering why in 2021, the Office of the President wrote and said that, he spoke on the abuse of sirens by ministers and other government officials. And I remember that City FM then embarked on a campaign, and some government officials that were abusing it were caught on camera, and it became very topical.
And what happened to them?
I'm wondering why
And
now
what happened to them?
they're trying to legislate it.
What happened to them? What I don't understand, why should we, the Ghanaian taxpayer, fund motorbikes for ministers and parliamentarians? Why? Is it not extra money? Do we not import the refined petroleum products? Do we produce the refined petroleum products here? Because we have to fuel those motorbikes. And sometimes, you, the ordinary man, you are driving on the road. A parliamentarian or a minister is coming with this wahoo. And if you decide that, you where you are, you can't really go away, then they're insulting you. Look, we vote people into power to serve us. How many times do they work late? How many times? How many times do they work late? And if they say parliamentarians, every parliamentarian, including backbencher parliamentarians, is that what you're saying? Do you know how much it's going to cost the Ghanaian taxpayer? Have they worked that amount out? That money that they are going to use to be doing this wahoo, have they calculated? They should stop that, please. Ghana has got to a position where things are tight for us. Why would they come up with such a thing? Why do they want to sit on our necks? They haven't seen what Labour has done. Look, the more you push Ghanaians to the wall, the more you get a reaction you don't want. And if you continue doing this, I'll tell Ghanaians, don't vote for those parliamentarians again. Vote for new parliamentarians, if that is what they're coming to do. Because I don't understand it. Why do you want an LI to do wahoo around the country? Why? What does it give you? It makes you feel good, Motor, hey, I'm coming. Makes you feel good. Look, the Japanese, Toyota, the Toyota, I read, they said one of the major countries that buy a lot of their vehicles 4x4s is Ghana. Is Ghana. Do we have the money? Do we have the wherewithal? In India, when you go to India, parliamentarians and ministers, they drive themselves to parliament. Why can't they do it themselves? What is so special about parliamentarians that they have to have one? Tell me. That they can't drive themselves. Tell me, what is so special? Are you not there to serve for 4 years? What else are you doing? You are there to serve. And if you are there to serve, what the people want is what you do. You don't go and abrogate, what do you call it, for your benefit and for your comfort. You are there to serve. So please, Minister, abrogate this thing. Don't let it happen. Because I don't think Ghanaians are in favor. A lot of Ghanaians, when they see these ministers and parliamentarians going around wahun, they look at them and ask themselves, but why? Why are we going through all this? Early morning, rush hour, traffic. Then we hear wahun at your back coming. There's no space to move for the wahun to pass, but they are forcing. The policeman on the motorbike will come and stand there, push. There's no space. And dare you try and tell him there's no space. He will arrest you there and there because some parliamentarian at the back is coming who feels he's better than you. Isn't Ghana for all of us? It's Ghana for a particular group of people. They should stop that kind of thing because it doesn't bode well for the Ghanaians. Please.
Okay, let's move on. Organized labor has called off its nationwide strike, and this happened yesterday. Well, the strike began yesterday and it was cancelled yesterday, but over the weekend we all witnessed what happened. The strike in question was to protest against the sale of SSNIT's 60% stake in some 4 hotels. And this action by organized labor, which is calling off the strike, they say they are doing that only to give SSNIT 1 month to address their concerns. And they want the entire board of SSNIT dissolved. They want management changed. And they claim, in their words, that SSNIT should advise themselves, or they would advise themselves, I beg your pardon, if SSNIT fails to meet its demands. So at an emergency meeting held yesterday in Accra, the General Secretary of the Trades Union, Dr. Yalba, said that they have decided to end the strike and have requested all workers to resume work on Tuesday, which is today. They also said that they are giving SSNIT a 1-month ultimatum to engage with them to address all outstanding issues related to the management of pensions. They expressed gratitude to the people of Ghana, so their statement is here. I'll quickly read it. On Friday, organized labor called on all workers to join an indefinite strike starting from Monday, July 15, to back its demand for the termination of the process towards the sale of 60% of SSNIT's shares in 4 hotels. In a letter dated 12 July, SSNIT informed organized labor that it has terminated the sale of the 60% of its stake in the hotels. At an emergency meeting held yesterday, organized labor has decided to call off the strike. All workers are therefore requested to resume work today, and they're giving SSNIT a 1-month ultimatum to engage them and address all their concerns. Palgrave, did we even have to get here to see how powerful organized labor could be? Did we?
So I don't think that one of the things that I think about when I think about SSNIT is that SSNIT is a contract of generations, such that those that are on retirement now, their monthly retirement packages are paid by those of us that are working, because so SSNIT is a contract of generations. My concern with this posture, especially from the people that have not taken time to understand how SSNIT works, is that SSNIT invests its pensions in viable businesses, some in hotels, some in other infrastructure that would be able to give them the benefits that they need. SSNIT, having observed some of their investment in hotels, especially those 6 that they wanted to float shares, about 60% of that, to any investor, said that it is important because there had been consistent losses. Now, my posture to this is that if we don't have an objective conversation around the Senate hotels today, we'll have that objective conversation tomorrow. And it's not about MPP, because in the government of today, we are seeking to solve the problem such that in the foreseeable future, pensioners, like in the next few years, as I grow, I will be on pension so that my pension can be paid. We have tier 1, tier 2, where it's mandatory for everyone to pay their pension, so that when people go on pension, they do not become a liability on government. All around the world, pensions are good. So to see a posture of organized labor, whom themselves are majority beneficiaries of SNIT in terms of pension, go through a strike process. And I'm not a person who are keen to strike. I've always stated that the good hours that they stayed at home lost a lot of productivity for government work. And we need to look at that. Ghana Statistical Service would come and do a report and do a survey, and people would rise up and talk about it. But when people go on strike, and we must have a broader conversation on strike in this country. When people go on strike, it's lost productivity.
Yeah, but it appears that's the only language that governments understand.
Yes, but then you see,
isn't it?
Yes,
and
that
it's
should
not, it's not peculiar to the NDP
absolutely.
government.
But say what? That should not be the only language that governments should understand.
What other language have you understood? Because this conversation about the sale of SNIT did not start today. That's why I asked you. My first question was, did we have to get here?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That you see, when you look at the SNIT issue, SNIT brought out a report and stated that X number of hotels had been running at a loss consistently for about 14 years.
But Palgrave,
Okay.
you beyond being a politician, you're a businessman. If you're running a business and the business has been making losses for 14 years, some of them, is the first thing to do to sell the business?
No, SNIT was not selling.
Or selling its stake. I mean,
No, SNIT was giving 60% shares. Majority shares to an investor, okay?
What is it?
And SNIT will still hold 40% shares. You can call it sale. I want to call it floating of shares, okay? I want to call it floating of shares.
Precisely. Who has management control?
It's
a majority shareholder.
Absolutely, but
and
it's a shared responsibility.
What will be the exchange? What are they exchanging for the floating shares that you talk about? Isn't it money?
It is money.
Okay.
Money that SNIT can reinvest into a viable venture. And really, for me, you see, let me just conclude on this.
Please answer my question. That if a business is running at losses, is that the first thing that you do?
As a businessman, if my business is running consistently at losses, where I need to always put in capital money, where I need to always come into management, I need to review and rethink about the viability of the business. And if my business has run considerably over a long period of time and I feel that this is a legacy that I can leave for generations yet unborn, I'll float my shares. So I will do similar to what SNIT is doing. SNIT has said that these hotels had run consistently at loss. Fair enough. Okujato goes on a demonstration. Organized labor comes in, goes on a strike, calls SNIT to halt the sale of the hotel or to halt the floating of the 60% shares. SNIT has halted. The board brings out a communique that is no more going to continue. Now, organized labor wants SNIT to dissolve its board and other persons' head. You know, Serwaa, I want to have this conversation in the future, and I can tell you the truth. We would revisit this conversation. Not because we want to, but that's the reality. The stark reality is that these hotels are non-performing. So if SNIT even puts a hold on it, it's going to deteriorate more. And that's what we need to do.
So maybe there needs to be a change of management as organized labor is requesting for.
It's not an issue. It's not an issue of a change of management. It's not an issue of a change of management. These hotels have been there for the longest part that we can ever think of. They started running at a loss consistently for the past 14 years, which means that both governments have had to bear the brunt of that. So government has to put in money. SNIT has to put in pensioners' money to sustain these hotels considerably.
So it's not government that It's in money.
Well, Senate.
It's our money.
People's money.
People's money, yes,
Exactly.
of course.
So
People's money.
Make the right clarification.
No, people's money, but the government represents the people. You can't take that away.
But the government isn't part of the shareholding.
Well,
it's the people.
Yes, but the government represents the people. I mean, we don't need to go into that lawyer. So really,
We
for
need
me,
to clarify.
Okay, clarify.
Who owns the money?
It's the people.
It's not government money.
It's the people.
Uh-huh.
And government is the people. And the people is government. We can't rule away that. Serwaa,
Yes.
I want to conclude on this. The government of President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo and the workers of Senate and the board has listened to the people. We've called it off. The Honorable Brani Champon has withdrawn from it. Now, the conversation is what's next would happen to these hotels. Do we watch on as a people to see these hotels consistently run at a loss such that we cannot even find where they would be in the foreseeable future? We need to have that conversation. Are we waiting for the future where pensioners will struggle to get their pensions that they have so worked for? And I've said, Senate is a generation of contract. It's a contract of generations, such that those that are being paid pensions now are not too many because the working class is large. We don't want to see a foreseeable future where you and I say, well, when we go on retirement, the working class is small and they cannot pay a pension. So I think that any foreseeable, right-thinking government would always want to look into the various stakeholders and see how we can address these issues. But the people have spoken. They don't want Senate to go ahead with diversifying some of their investment in the hotels. We would look on and see how we can be able to resolve these issues. But striking, demonstrating, calling of people's heads, I don't think that is what we need.
For a government or a person who belongs to a government that went on several demonstrations, you don't think that's the way to go?
I don't believe in demonstrations.
You don't believe in demonstrations?
I don't believe in strikes.
But
we
you
have
know,
lost
when you look over the
hours,
years...
for the weeks and days that these organized labor went on strike.
Oh, but the strike was only for yesterday, and they cancelled the strike yesterday.
No, they had been on strike for a number of days.
It was from, they declared it on Friday.
No. For over a
Right?
week. No, for over a week.
No, it was from Friday,
for
Mr.
over a week.
Janswa.
No, check.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
No,
It was Friday.
No,
Friday.
the whole of last week.
No, it was Friday.
The whole of last week.
No, there was some
a
strike.
strike.
Yeah,
Yes.
there was some strike.
Exactly.
But
It wasn't
this
this
one,
particular-
this
I
one
agree.
was
Yeah.
from Friday.
Yes, but then they had been on strike.
So
But
we are
it's-
talking
this-
this
we are
one,
talking
not
about
the
this
cluster
one.
Yes.
All of it is
You are
one
talking
strike.
about
No,
Clocksack.
yeah, Clocksack,
This is
yes.
this is
Clocksack
organized
is passed
labor.
of organized labor.
No, but it wasn't
It's a
for
unit
this.
and
That
it's
was,
a
that has
unit.
got to do with their wage.
Yes,
not
but
this.
it's also a unit and organized labor.
Don't mix the two.
No, I'm not mixing the two.
You
I'm
are
telling you.
mixing the
No.
two.
Clocksack is a unit
We are
and
talking
organized
at
labor.
this specific challenge of the hotels.
I'm
That's
glad,
what you're talking
I'm
about.
glad that the strike has been called off. I'm glad that our government has listened. But I'm saying that the issue still persists. Calling off the strike, government saying they're not going to go ahead with the sale and the floating of 60% shares is not the solution. We need to tackle how to make sure that future pensioners, current pensioners, their pensions are taken care of.
Well, two things stand out for me from his submission, right, GHOne, is that it's not about change of management, but he didn't go on to say what it should be about. It appears to be that he maintains a position that then it should necessarily be about divesting this interest to somebody else, which appears to me to be the position, because he didn't go on to say what it should be about if it's not about change of management. Then secondly, he said that the SNIS should invest elsewhere. And we don't know the elsewhere. He did not say the elsewhere. When they get the money from the sale of their 60% shares, where is the elsewhere? Because they will be operating within the same Ghana. The same Ghana the private person is operating and doing well, but the government's institutions cannot do well. But the sale is to people who serve in government, which again is a bit problematic for me. Then thirdly, I want you to know that you are on record. You're saying you don't believe in demonstrations. You don't believe in strikes at all. Is it that you don't believe in them when it is your government in power, or you don't believe in them at all? Because the records will be there when you are demonstrating against subsequent governments. Now, to the point. The problem here is that some way, somehow, we are saying that a private person who is a member of the government, a minister for that matter, Minister of Agriculture, is able, and there has been, a lot of obfuscation of the realities that, oh, I am a director, but I am not a managing director, and all of those things. A director is a director. A director who has fiduciary responsibility for a body corporate. That is what a director is. As to whether he's an executive director, a managing director is a different conversation altogether. The fact that you are part of the management of the organization, you owe fiduciary to that organization, you take decisions for that organization, is clear. The minister is that same person in government, and that same government institutions cannot function to keep something profitable. But some way, somehow, if it becomes private in the hands of the same persons who are in government, then it will become profitable. The problem or the indication that makes to any observer is that, well, there has been a deliberate running down of these things so that they can be transferred to private hands to the same people in government. And if workers are supposed to watch these things go on, they would agitate. You don't expect that I should think that it is a sane proposition. It's a fair proposition. It's a reasonable proposition that government's interests are being divested in an asset to a private hand. And the private hand is persons who are in government. And the reason is because we believe that in private hands they do well. But it is the same Ghanaians, the same individuals in government. Why doesn't it work? And the argument has been made that the institutions have not been making profit over a period of time, and that is why we are divesting them, as needs interest in them. But Labadi has been making profit. And the reason is because the members made propositions as to how it should be managed. Because it has been the same issue of non-profitability with Labadi. Labadi has been making profit. The record tells us that the private hand, and I'm even confused whether it's a private hand or a public hand, because the person to whom it is going, the equitable interest holder to whom it is going is a public officer. The private hand to whom you are saying we should transfer it to, his hotels, on the other hand, we have been told are not making profit. So between the people managing Labadi and the private hands you are asking us to divest this interest into, who should be taking over SNEET? That's the question we should be answering. And there are questions of procedural matters that were not taken care of in this whole transaction. Anyone who has a little bit of knowledge on corporate governance knows that articles of association have preemptory rights and all those things that are available to present shareholders. Present shareholders in Ridge Royal, for example, were not being respected in terms of their preemptory rights. Straight away, there was already negotiations going on with Honorable Brian Champo to divest the interest in them. The indication it gives anyone who is outside government, the indication it gives any SNEET contributor, is that there is a deliberate effort to transfer this thing to this particular person in a privileged manner simply because the person is associated with the government. And when people get these indications day in, day out, they would agitate. And the issue about not believing in strikes and all these things. How many times has the government of President Akufo-Addo listened to anybody other than themselves? And if you have a situation where the people you are representing, all the time, the people say that we disagree with something, and government uses their forceful hands because they have the power of force on their hands, then they go ahead and do those things. And when the people take action, you are questioning us about the time which is lost and all those things. The question is, the issue about time being lost and the issue about the people not being fairly represented, which of them should take precedence? If we need to lose valuable time so that people are represented fairly, then that is the path to go. The unfortunate thing even is that it is not the people in government who bear the brunt of strikes. And so they are willing to risk it sometimes to do these things. It is the ordinary people. When hospitals are not working, it is the ordinary people who are sick at the hospital base without nurses to take care of them who suffer these consequences. So they are willing to risk them sometimes. That's the situation we are having over here. So we should not continue giving the impression to people who are outside of the leadership of our country that there is a deliberate effort at all points in time to give privileges to those who are in the government above the rest of the society. If we keep doing that, this is the outcome we will get. And if procedures were followed strictly in carrying out this whole divesting of, SNEET's interest in these assets, I don't think we would have had these agitations. The procedures were not even being followed. Secondly, if it was even something that could make sense to anybody, that you are saying is because of non-profitability, but you are transferring to a person whose assets are not making profit, whose hotels are not making profit, when Labadi is making profit. If that can make sense to anybody, I don't find it making any sense to me. And the reason is because, well, our interest is that we are leaving it so because it's not making profit. One thing I need to point to, again, on the particular facts of this whole transaction is the one in Kumasi. There was an issue of government exercising its preemptory right over obtaining that asset because a private person had the majority share and government had the minority share. In that transaction, government decided not to exercise its preemptory right and it went to Honorable Brian Champo. Fair enough. Then in a second scenario, which has to do with Ridge Royal, the private people who have the minority share have a preemptory right. And in the transactions, they were not being allowed to exercise that preemptory right, and it is going to the Honorable Brian Champon. What would you think if you have that situation? Government fails to exercise its preemptory right, it goes to Brian Champon. Private people have a right to exercise preemptory rights. You are not allowing them to exercise it, and you want to give it to Honorable Brian Champon. The impression it gives anybody is that at all points in time, you are actually cooking this procedure so that this thing goes to a particular person. And so when people agitate against this thing and you refuse over a period, the conclusion is that the persons who are enabling this situation should be out. And so I support the position of organized labor, that the people who presided over this whole thing should be out of office. Because if they don't go now, they will do it another time. We don't need a situation where every time strike actions are threatened before we have government listening to us. And so when we have people who do not listen to the stakeholders in transactions, in their dealings, in the corporate governance of institutions that are handed over to them out of the hard works of the ordinary Ghanaian, then they should be out of office. It's as simple as that. We don't need to risk the life of people who go to the hospitals who this government has proven not to care about. Because if they cared, these things should not even get to that point in the first place. We don't need to keep risking the life of these people for government to listen to us. And so please, if there is anything organized labor can do for the ordinary Ghanaian, it's not to end this whole action with the declaration that they are going to stop the transaction. It's to proceed until the persons who presided over it are out of office. The Director General, that whole board should be dissolved so that we have people who are willing to listen to the people of Ghana deal with these things.
People who presided over the intended sale, or you mean the losses?
The intended sale.
Okay.
In any case, the losses which were happening, they were the ones presiding over it anyway.
The losses have been for the past 14 years.
And
it couldn't have been the same management for the past 14
government.
years.
What did he say government is again, if you would remind me? It's government.
Then the government should be dissolved because
so the
if
past
they
14
want...
years, MPP has been in office.
No, but you've been in office for the past 8 years, haven't you?
No, the past 14 years.
The losses have been recorded for the last 14 years.
And I've put a very fundamental question, if you would want to answer. You're saying that the issue is not about changing those in management. The organized labor is saying that they experimented with Labadi and it worked. Why are you not willing to take that? They experimented with Labadi and it worked. Why are you not willing to take that? But you are willing to take divesting into the private hands. Private hands that you have proven from the nature of the transaction, the way you are blocking the exercise of preemptory rights of minority shareholders, that you want it to go into a particular private hands. Why not willing to take that particular one? And so the question is that, is it a matter of the institutions not working and we wanting them to work? If that is the case, then Honorable Brian Champon should be added to the SNIT board. Some people should be substituted since his companies have the expertise. Or in any case, he's saying that he does not deal with his own facilities himself. The people who deal in them, he's welcome to invite them into government to do that. Other than that, the people managing Labadi should take over the other hotels. It makes sense that way. It makes sense that way. It removes the doubt that it is not about wanting to transfer it to particular private hands. It's about wanting to make it work. If it's about wanting to make it work, those other options are available to you. Why don't you want to take them? Why do you feel that the people managing Labadi cannot manage this one? It must go into a private hand at all costs. And you see, there has been attempts to make this
But Labadi isn't the only one that they intended to sell. There were 4 of them.
Yes, it's not the only one that they intended to sell, but it is the one that demonstrates a difference among the rest. A difference which the person you are saying you want to sell to does not even exhibit profitability. And so why are you not considering that option? It's a fair question to ask. And if the nature of the transaction is demonstrating vested interest, I've said it, there was a reverse situation. First, government having the option to exercise preemptory rights in the Kumasi case, and they failed to exercise it and gave it to Brian Champon. In the second case, private persons having the right to exercise preemptory rights, and you want to skip them. Doesn't that demonstrate an intention to make sure that it goes to a particular person to you? And that is what we are against. If that intention is manifest, and we have people who are trying their very best to advance that intention, they should be out. And that is why I am saying that this organized labor activity, it does not end with the call of it ends with the dissolution of that board. It ends with people having consequences, because if you're unable to do things that are working in the interest of the people you represent, you get out of there. Serving in government office is not by force.
Okay. Mr. Jantwa.
President said the buck stops with him, didn't he? So if the buck stops with him, is he a listening president?
Has he not proven
Does he
to be?
really is he really concerned about Ghanaians? Give you an example. Ufurata and his bonds, what has been the result? What has been the result? Pensioners' monies have been cut. National Cathedral, how much money was sunk in there? 200 million. Is he concerned? Now, this one hotel, when the union people went to meet him, what did he say to them? They should go and negotiate. Isn't that what he said? As president, wouldn't he listen to them since the money is theirs? Wouldn't he listen to them and say, okay, you have made your argument. This is my argument. And I think because of A, B, C, D, E. However, if you say you don't want to sell, go and negotiate with SNIT to find out how best we can handle the situation if you don't want us to sell. Did that happen? So does he really have a duty of care where Ghanaians are concerned? Serwaa, let me ask you, in all this communication that has gone on, has SNIT been able to tell us why those hotels are making losses? Have you heard it? Nobody has been able to tell us. All they say is that they made losses for the past X number of years. Do they tell us why? And if GHOne today is making losses, is not getting the kind of viewership, won't the owner sit and say, there must be something wrong somewhere, and investigate? And if it's a management issue, wouldn't they change the management? So what are they telling us?
Maybe if they're not telling us, it's because it is a management issue.
So then if it is a management issue, you are representing the people's money. So if it's a management issue, change the management. This is not government's money. But let me ask a question. Why is it that when the former MD, or the CEO of SNIT, Tinkran, was moved out, and Osofo-Mafo's son was brought, this thing has accelerated? Why? What's the reason? And today, you heard what he said. Osofo-Mafo's son said, what's he called? Kofi Osofo-Mafo. You heard what he said. They are now going to talk to stakeholders. Why didn't you talk to stakeholders initially? Generally, if a company wants to do something where they are shareholders, will they not call for shareholder meeting and tell shareholders, A, B, C, D, E has what has gone on, so this is what we want to do? Do you agree? Don't you agree? Won't they vote? Did that happen in this particular instance? Look, who created Apple? Who was the CEO of Apple?
Steve Jobs, no?
Steve Jobs. What happened to him? What happened to him? Didn't shareholders horn him out? Didn't they horn him out? What are we talking about? Look, this political capture thing has to stop somewhere because it doesn't help the people. If you want to take government property, then tell us. You are coming into power to usurp government property, to usurp the property of the people. If you can't protect, because that is why you are there. You are there to serve and protect. Typical example is Tor and the Chinese refinery. Does it make sense? What's that refinery called? The Chinese refinery that is there. What is it called? Next door to Tor. And your Tor is rotting away. And you go. The president and all those went and inaugurated the Chinese refinery. Ours is standing there. And we are importing refined petroleum products. If we are not careful, in the next 5 to 10 years, that Chinese company will take over jobs of local jobs of Ghanaians. And what happens? Capital flight, because any city they make has to go outside. Who suffers? And your tour is standing there. So I ask the question, are they really concerned about Ghanaians? How many workers? 688,000 workers make labor. And they've been able to stop government. This should be a call for politicians that you cannot take the people for granted. And unfortunately, politicians have taken the people of Ghana for granted because the Ghanaians have this attitude of, okay, we didn't have to go down the route of Kenya. We didn't. We didn't have to go down that route. But politicians should learn. If Ghanaians want to stop you, they will stop you. Because I don't understand how. From time when this thing started, Ghanaians told government, we don't want this thing to happen. We don't want this thing to happen. We don't want this to happen. It has to get to a point of bringing the country to a standstill before government listens. How possible is that? First point of call, when it started, when it was going on, the president should have stepped in, called everybody around the table. Guys, the people of Ghana don't seem to want this thing we are doing. So let's put it on hold and let's find a better way of handling these hotels. As Julius rightly said, if out of the all hotels, all those hotels, one of them has been able to be profitable, be it they've been profitable in the last 2 years or in the last 4 years, it shows that they have some good management there. Why don't you offer it to them? Look, you seem to have done well with your hotel. Can you help us bring the others up? Look, one good thing that the president did, which he really did, was this come back home thing. What is it called?
Return.
Year of return. Yeah. Which has brought a lot of people. We will need hotels. We've now built a world-class stadium. We're going to be able to go out there and ask for athletics games and all that to be held in this country. We need the hotels. Even apart from that, tourism alone, we need the hotels. And if the hotels are bringing money into government coffers, is that not a good thing? Private man, what will he do? Not be taxes he will pay. And that, where these hotels are, the land belongs to who? The what you call it, Labadi Beach Hotel was built because of, was it NAM Conference? Mm-hmm. Who has title of the land? Was the land compulsory purchased? Did the chiefs have anything to do with the land? And so what are we talking about? Beachfront property. What even catapulted me? Where did Osafo Mafu's sons come in? Where did they come in? Not Osafo Mafu, Blay.
Oh, yeah.
Where did his sons come in to use the beachfront? Have you seen a hotel that doesn't have a beachfront? To play polo when there's polo ground just down the road. I mean,
no, the polo is not the polo they play.
So what polo is it? I thought it was the horse polo.
No, Mr. Janta,
So
there's a party. There's a party called the Polo Beach Club.
Polo Beach Club.
Was that it?
Yes.
It's like the way the umbrella associations are always at the beachfront.
Don't worry, Mr. Janta is not Gen Z.
To do party.
Not to do party.
To do party.
No, it's equivalent. It's equivalent to the umbrellas. You know the umbrellas.
Yes.
The umbrella holders at the
and people
beachfront.
just go and sit there.
People
Mr.
sit
Mr.
there.
Are you
trying to tell me that? Are you
it.
trying to tell me that Labadi Beach can't do that?
Oh, Mr. Janta,
and they have invested a lot.
Yes.
Look,
there's a
huge wait. There's a huge beachfront from Adan all the way to Gomuafete.
It's not the same as the Polo Beach Club.
Create it.
But they weren't innovative enough about it.
Go to other parts of the coast. Cape Coast. Create it.
We must commend what they have done.
I said create it. Don't come and usurp. Create it. Go to Central Region. The beachfront is good. Create it for people to go down that place. Isn't it tourism?
Yeah.
We should stop. We should stop this monkey they work, baboon they chop business. It's not helping our country. Look, that Marine Drive, that Marine Drive concept, you know when it started? It started with Kwame Nkrumah. What government has been able to make sure that the Marine Drive works? And the Marine Drive has got to do with developing the entire coastline. Developing the entire You see, me, I don't go to these places, so I wouldn't know what this polo thing is. So, viewers, forgive me.
No, it's fine. I haven't been there before.
That Marine Drive, if we were to develop our coastal land, wouldn't it be fantastic?
It
Look,
will.
when you go to the Volta region, you go to Keta and you stand on the beach and you look at the beachfront, it's like Spain. It's like some beachfronts in Spain. We haven't developed it. Rather, the sea is consuming the land and all the old forts there. What is it? No development plan. Even in Nigeria here, Ikoyi, they were able to push the sea back by land filling. Go and look at the place today. Who is planning? Who? This private thing should stop. Ghana, the country Ghana is for all of us, and we all need to develop it. If the private man goes and buys and there's no Ghana, his money has done what? A shit. So let's start thinking, putting our thinking caps on. And our presidents should put their thinking caps on with regards to developing Ghana for Ghanaians and for the world. We are the center of the earth. Why are we where we are today? Why? The Greenwich Meridian and the equator cross at Tema. There's a small plaque there that shows why aren't we marketing ourselves properly?
All right. Okay, thank you. We have to wrap up. But before we go, Palgrave, I have a question for you. This is for you alone. I don't know if you have seen the Daily Democrat newspaper, which is reporting that some persons in his constituency, which is the Ibuakwa North constituency, some delegates are dying as a result of a curse that he allegedly placed on them. Yes, in the run-up to the primaries. And so,
I'm really surprised. You know,
apparently,
I'm really surprised.
apparently,
That
they
like
are,
you.
hold on, Mr. Janto, hold on. So, four delegates have died post the primaries, and they were made to allegedly swear an oath after taking money from Palgrave, and they allegedly were made to sit on a black stool. Yes, let me get it right. To sit on a black stool and swear with an egg to vote for Palgrave Wachidankwa or face the brunt of the gods. Palgrave,
So,
how do you respond to these?
I issued a
allegations?
press statement yesterday. I don't know. I gave it to your producer to give to you. But this is what happened. I have never seen a black stool before. All of my life. I mean, Lawyer Jato, you come from a royal home. I come from a royal home. I've never seen a black stool before. And in the lead up to the elections, I never asked anybody to sit on a black stool because I've never seen one before. I've never sat on one before.
Did you ask them to swear an oath?
Not at all. I woke up yesterday and I realized that this was on the front page of the Daily Democrat. I'm aware of their alignation in terms of where they are aligned politically. I know that we have an election to win in the Ibuakwa North constituency. I considered defeat after campaigning very well for 7 months. I campaigned from May of last year till January when the elections were held. I had 76 votes, which meant that every single month I gained about 10 people who believed in what I had to do. Congratulated the new PC and wished the MP who lost the best. There were 5 of us that stood. I was third. I don't know why after 6 months of coming out of the election and trying to regain and bounce back, people would want to bring a focus on me. I mean, so it's unfortunate. It didn't happen at all. And I brought a press statement to that effect.
But are these reported deaths true? That 4
So
delegates...
when I granted an interview yesterday, I said that when people die and they do a postmortem, the reports will not come that Wachidankwa killed them. I don't kill people. And people die prematurely, people die timely, and it's all in the hands of God.
How does this news make you feel?
Very sad. Very, very sad that people would want to taint my image, destroy my name, I shared with people from the Christian environment that having been a pastor, having been a missionary all these years, my training is not like that. And people who know me know that I don't swear to God. I believe in Jesus Christ. I am an avowed follower and disciple of Christ. It is Him I have served and will continue to serve, and ensure that the values that I pick from the Bible is what is implemented in my daily life. And so it's sad that people would sit, plan, purport, and gang. But, the Bible says that he who digs a pit shall himself fall into it. So I stated that I wish them well. If this is the mission that they are on, it's a mission of failure and it's a mission of impossibilities.
All right, Palgrave Wachi Dankwa is government spokesperson on governance and security. Mr. Kwame Jantwa Esquire is a member of the CPP, and Anthony Julius is a member of the NDC's communications team. Thank you so much for coming, all of you. Is this your first time on the show?
I've been here a number of times, but not with you.
Not with me.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you enjoy it?
Yes.
You did. Okay. On Sunday, July 20. Yes, on July 21, 2024, the Arab Bank for Economic Development in Africa will celebrate its 50th anniversary at the Kempinski Gold Coast Hotel in Accra, Ghana. Now, this isn't just a celebration, but a time for elevation to a whole new level of growing partnership between Africa and the Arab region. Badia will use the occasion to bring together the heads of all the top financial institutions of the Arab world and Africa for the historic launch of the Arab-Africa Financial Consortium. The event, which is part of the AU Mid-Year Summit in Accra, will feature a leaders' breakfast with heads of state, heads of institutions, as well as other major economic decision makers, including CEOs, industrialists, and entrepreneurs from Africa and the Arab world. Dignitaries will include the President of Ghana, His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, His Excellency Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and 12 other African leaders. The Chairman of Badia, His Excellency Dr. Fahad Abdullah, the leaders of the Big 8 financial institutions called the Arab Coordination Group, and many more, including representatives from all the other regions of the major sovereign funds. To attend this event, you can visit www.badia.rsvpifi.com, or you can send a mail to rsvp@badia.org, or you can call us on 053-609-8325. Mr. Janta, what were you looking at? You wanted to see where I was reading from, right? Or you're wondering if I was saying it from my head.
I was just curious. That's
You're
all.
curious. Thank you very much. Stay with us. After the break, we have many more conversations. This is Today. Yeah, welcome back to the show. This is GH Today. I'm Serwaa Amihere. I'm seated with Reverend Kingsley Ayesu. He's a senior pastor with CCC International. Reverend, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing very well. And how are you?
I'm doing very well too. What's a CCC?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me on your show. Really appreciate it. It's a great show, and I think it's a privilege to be on this morning. CCC is an acronym. It simply stands for Christ Covenant Chapel. Yep.
Oh, why the name Christ Covenant Chapel?
In Jeremiah 31, verse 31, God says that I'm going to establish a new covenant with my people. And then when you come to Hebrews 8:7, he said if there was no problem with the old one, there wouldn't have been the need for a new one. And so when you think about the whole gospel message, another word for testament, we have the Old Testament, New Testament. Another word for testament is actually covenant.
Okay.
So it's actually the Old Covenant and the New Covenant. So
Right.
Christ Covenant Chapel is really about the new covenant that God has with his people.
Right.
And so, a covenant is a blood bond that is sovereignly administered by God. So when you think about it, really, God's relationship with humanity has always been based on a covenant. So that's why we have the name Christ Covenant Chapel.
Okay. Are you based in Ghana?
Yes, we have a branch in Ghana.
Okay.
It's at Zuzu Restaurant, I think.
Okay.
I'm
But
not
originally, where are you based?
the headquarters is in Minnesota, USA.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. What is your mission in Ghana then?
Of course, primarily to lift up Jesus Christ, but also our branch here is a year old, and so we're here to celebrate the 1 year anniversary. A lot of times people want to wait for big things to happen before they celebrate, but when you look at Genesis chapter 1, Bible says, in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth. The earth was without form. There was chaos, there was confusion, and yet God looked at it and said, it's good. The second day he said, let there be the sun, and then he looked at it. It was still not done, but he said it's good. The third day he was still putting order in place, but at every stage he said it's good. So it's important that we celebrate the small things in our lives so that God can trust us with bigger things. So it's 1 year old, but we still want to celebrate it because it's God's faithfulness and God's goodness that has sustained us to be a year old. And so we're here basically to say thank you to God for 1 year of his faithfulness. It is not by our might or by our strength. It's just been the goodness of the Lord. Yep.
You say that the church is headquartered in Minnesota.
Yes, ma'am.
And there are so many other churches here. Why did you decide to set up a church here, a branch here?
Well, I believe strongly that whenever God calls someone, he calls them for a specific assignment. So our assignment as a church basically is to develop people to positively impact our generation.
Okay.
And so we are mandated to develop people. We believe strongly that every individual has a potential, and that potential will not be realized to its maturity if it is not developed. And so everyone that God brings our way is for us to develop them to fulfill their destiny, their purpose, and their assignment. A lot of times people think that God wants us to be happy. God wants us to be, prosperous and whatever. And I'm not denying the fact that God wants us to be, but that is not God's main agenda. God's main agenda is to fulfill his purpose and his assignment. And wherever we fit in, that becomes God's main, interest in our lives. So when you think about Romans 8:28, all things work together for good for those who love the Lord and are called according to his purpose.
Right.
So ultimately, when God is working in our lives, he's working ultimately not to make Serwaa happy necessarily, but to fulfill his purpose, his agenda, his assignment, right? And so when God calls an individual, he calls you for a purpose, for assignment. Jeremiah chapter 1, verse 5, before I placed you in your mother's womb, I knew you, I called you, I ordained you a prophet. So it was a purpose that made Jeremiah necessary. So it's a purpose, it's an assignment that made me necessary. There is a purpose that made Serwaa necessary, right? And so that purpose has to be fulfilled. You get what I'm saying? But then, having said that, God also calls an individual not just for a purpose, but to his people or her people. And so I believe that God sent me to the United States as a student. I became a missionary, planted churches, but also have to come back and give back to my people. I'm a Ghanaian by birth. And so we thought that, hey, if God is setting up something and it's working in the United States and it's working in England, then why don't we bring it to our own people, that is Ghanaians? And so that's why CCC Accra, CCC Ghana became necessary to come here and also try to help people to develop themselves to become everything that they were born to be. Because like I said earlier on, everyone has a potential, everyone has some talent and giftings that God placed in them and brought them here on earth to fulfill that assignment and that purpose. The unfortunate thing is a lot of people would die without realizing that. A lot of people would die without ever becoming whatever they were born to be. My mentor, who has gone to be with the Lord, Dr. Miles Monroe of blessed memory, said that the richest place on earth, is not the gold mines of South Africa or the gold mines in Obuasi. It is the graveyard. That is where we have a lot of potential that was never realized, a lot of books that were never written, a lot of songs that were never sung, a lot of great things that were never, materialized in people's lifetime. And so our agenda is to help people to die empty. To die empty. So whatever it is that God gave you to come to earth with it, we want to make sure that you give it to humanity before you go on into glory. A lot of us want to go to heaven, and it's unfortunate, but
Not all of us will.
none of us will. Not that is. I don't want to say a sad reality, but for me, I think my biggest thing is not to go to heaven. I'm sorry, it sounds.
But what is it then?
But my biggest thing is to finish my assignment. I don't want to die because I'm old. I want to die because I finished.
And then when you die,
Then when I die, then there's heaven.
you don't want
There's
to go to
eternity.
heaven.
Yes, I want to go to heaven.
But that's not your biggest
But that
thing.
is not my biggest thing.
So if you finish your assignments and you go to hell, you don't mind?
If I finish my assignment, there is no reason why I go to hell.
Okay.
If I do my Father's will,
Right.
there is absolutely no reason how I end up in hell.
Okay.
You get what I'm saying?
Right. You have tasted Christianity in two different worlds, for the want of a better word, in Ghana and in the United States. Are they different? The way that Christians behave here? Is it different from how Christians behave?
I think a lot of us Ghanaians are religious, not Christians.
Right.
Because we have a lot of people who go to church every day of the week, right? But then you look at the decadence, the decay in our society, and you are wondering, where are the Christians? Okay. I think that people worship God here in Africa, and thanks to God, I have had the privilege to travel to different countries. And I've lived here, and I've lived in the United States. But I've realized that people worship God here for one reason being poverty. He hears or she hears that when you come to God, life will be better. So they come to God, hoping that their circumstance and situation will change. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying God will not do that. The other reason why people come to God is because of fear. Afraid of witches and wizards and demons and principalities. And they tell them, when you come to Jesus Christ, no weapon formed against you shall prosper. So they come to God. And so, are they wrong reasons? Yes, because if you come to God because of money, when you become rich, what do you need God for? You get what I'm saying? When you become prosperous, then you don't need God. If you're coming to God because of a demon, when you get to a place in life where you realize or you think, or it's a perception that Obefo is not coming after me anymore, what do you need God for?
Right.
So I tell people that if you realize, if someone in the United States is committed to God, loves God, and serves God, someone will not agree to this statement I'm about to make, but I have lived both worlds, and I can say this without any controversy, that if someone lives in the United States and loves the Lord, serves God, dedicated, committed to Christ, he's a better Christian than one who is here in Ghana. Okay? Because of the reasons I said before. Majority of people, that's why people say that, and maybe you may have heard that statement before, they love the Lord whilst they are in Ghana. They are on mountains praying, they are doing this. Then they go to England, they go to the United States, and they don't care about church anymore. Why? Because he doesn't have to pray for food. He doesn't have to pray for a job. He doesn't have to pray for a new car. You get a good credit, you can get a new car, right? So they don't care anymore, because the reason why they were doing that in Ghana, they don't need that anymore. They have those things. You get what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, I think that people should come to God or Christ for the right reasons.
Right.
I'm coming because there is a God that I have to serve. All right. There are a lot of agenda that is going on in the United States where people are trying to discredit God or trying to say that we don't need God. Why are we fighting all of those things? It's because, maybe you may have even heard this, that people are saying that there's no right or wrong. It's relative. Everything is relative. Whatever sounds good to you, whatever feels good to you, then go ahead and do it. All right. When I was in seminary, I had a philosophy instructor, very smart guy, had about 3 PhDs in different fields. And he was talking and teaching on relativity and talking about the fact that we don't have right or wrong. Whatever feels right to you, that's what you do. And I was like, wow, that's good. So I lifted my hands and said, can I ask a question? He said, of course. And I said, if I slap you right now, would that be right or wrong? He said, no, you can't do that. I said, let's assume I can do that. If I slap you right, would that be right or wrong? He said, no, you can't do that. Don't even think about it. And I said, you said it's relative, isn't it? There's no right or wrong. He said, that would be wrong. I said, whoa, slow down. If you say that would be wrong, then that means that there is right and there is wrong. He said, no, but you can't do that. I said, so let me put it to you this way. If I slap you right now, I will feel very good about it. And you are saying that it's all about our feelings, right? So when I slap you, whose feeling are we going to use to judge the situation? Your feelings or mine? To determine whether my slapping you is right or wrong. You said it's about feelings, right? So if I slap you, is that right or wrong? And based on whose feelings are we going to use now? The reason why we say things like that in the United States or in the Western world is because we do not want to accept that there are moral values. Because the moment we say there is morality, we are saying that there's a moral lawgiver. If we say there is a moral lawgiver, then it means that we have to be accountable to the one who gave those moral values.
Right.
And that is the one we are dismissing. Right? So then we say that, you know what, there are no rights and wrong just because we want to say there's no God. I'm saying all of that to say this. If we come to God because he is God, right? Not because I need something, not because I want something, but just because he is my God. All right? I love him because he's my God. Then it doesn't matter what happens, I'll love God. Whether I am up or down, I'll love him. Whether I'm rich or poor, I'll love him. Whether I have it or I don't have it, I'll love him. You get what I'm saying? So if we do not come to God for the right reasons, then we get to places where now we make a choice, we make a decision. Should I stop going to church? Should I continue going to church? What is the point of the church? I don't need the church anymore because the reasons that brought me to church were wrong. You get what I'm saying? So that is why I think that the church in Ghana should do a better job of selling Christ and marketing Christ well. I think we are doing it wrong. I want to say that because a lot of the churches are doing it right, okay? But majority of us also are marketing Christ wrong. So people are not even, those even who are rejecting Christ are not rejecting Christ, they are rejecting our presentation of him.
All right. Thank you very much, Reverend, for sharing these insights with us.
Yes.
Before we go, do you have any final words for our viewers?
I just want to say that we are a blessed nation. This is a blessed country, and I can say that only based on the fact that I've had the opportunity to travel to different continents and different nations. And this is a blessed country. the church has a very big role to play in making our society a better society. Unfortunately, we have, and excuse my French, we have charlatans. The Bible even says to say, let me say this in the Akan language so you know, my grandmothers will understand. You know, and based off that, you know, it's like there are some people who don't want to have anything to do with the church. What we need to realize is that the best colleges, the best universities in the world were built by the church, all right? The best hospitals were built by the church. The one thing that we need to understand as a community, as a people, is this. In Noah's Ark, it was very filthy. The animals went to the bathroom in there. The humans went to the bathroom in there. It was stinking. Trust me. I'm not sure I would want to live that 120 days in Noah's Ark. Okay? But as stinking as it was still the place of salvation. People who were living in palaces, in five-star hotels, people who were living in mansions, they died. That stinking boat was still the place of salvation. Saying that to mean that the church may have problems, but it's still the place of salvation. And so I just want to encourage people that instead of putting the church down and saying just because some few people are messing things up and doing all things that are unchristian, doesn't make the church bad. Okay. Don't throw the baby away with the dirty water. Okay. There is still a remnant. There is still people who are lifting up Jesus and doing it the best way they can. Okay. Sometimes people come to us and they say, oh, Pastor, if, you know, the church is supposed to, why are pastors doing this? Why are church folks doing this? Why are they doing this? We are saved. We are forgiving, but we are not angels. You get what I'm saying? I tell people that, listen, if you find a perfect church, don't join it. You spoil it.
I see.
The moment you join it, it ceases to be a perfect church. We are not perfect people. We all have our struggles. We are who we are, as Paul said, because of the grace of God. I'm saying that to say that let's give the church a chance. Okay. Let's give each other a chance.
All right.
Let's be gentle with one another.
Okay. Thank you very much, Reverend Kingsley Ayesu. He's the senior pastor for CCC, also known as, you know, I want to get the CCC right. It's
Christ Covenant Chapel.
Christ Covenant Chapel.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you very much for coming on the show. Stay with us. After the break, we have a conversation with the Guinness World Record holder for washing the many cars at a time. You're welcome back to the show. This is GH Today. I am Serwaa Amihere. Let's have a conversation with the Guinness World Record holder for car washathon, Felicity Asantwa. Good morning, Felicity. How are you?
Good morning. I'm fine.
So you have the title
Yes.
as the newest record holder.
Yeah.
How many cars did you wash?
60 cars, but it was 61, but the one was evicted, so
Wow.
it was 60.
For how many hours?
8 hours.
Where did you do this?
At East Legon, go wash free zones.
Oh, right.
Washing.
Okay. When did you apply to do this?
I applied January 25th.
Oh.
No, December 25th rather.
And you got the date for just recently, or you've done it?
No, I did it 9th of March.
9th of March?
Yes.
And the results just came out?
Yeah, on 10th July.
Wow. Congratulations,
Thank you
by
very
the way.
much.
But you didn't, for the ones for better word, make noise about it.
Yes.
Did you have media coverage?
Not really.
Was it intentional?
Yes, in a way it was intentional because for me, sometimes I believe in win for glory, but start for glory is something. And at that time too, the Guinness thing was all over, so we needed to sit to plan for hours to do it and do it well.
Do it well. So of all the things, why did you choose to wash cars?
Yeah, sometimes when someone needs to do something, you go for your passion. So I'm a person, I love Formula One, TV shows and car shows. So when I went to their page and I saw that there was a category that fits me in, that's why I went in for it.
Wow. How did you find out that you had emerged a record title holder?
Yes, as usual, they will send you an email. So when I saw the email, I just went to their page to verify before.
Just to be sure, huh?
Yeah, just to be sure. And it was true before I went into the email to do the necessary.
Okay, so have you received your plaque yet?
No, it's a whole process
to get it.
Yeah.
What's the process?
So it will take 3 weeks, 3 to 4 weeks before it comes. So we've purchased it already. So
right.
So we are expecting it to come within 3 weeks' time.
Was it difficult, the challenge?
Yes, I would say...
Or because you love it, it was...
No, I would say there wasn't a challenge because it's something, if you are planning to do something, you don't see the challenge because you've planned and you are working towards that. So the challenge, no, maybe... No,
so did people bring their cars?
Yes, people brought their cars.
You called them, or it's a washing bay?
It's a washing bay, but we needed to get people because people didn't know what
was going on. Okay. So when you say that you prepared for it, I know there are people who, like those who sing and stuff, who train for weeks and months because they're standing on their feet. Did you do the same thing? What was your preparation process like?
Yeah, the preparation, I went for medicals, I went to the gym, and also went to the washing bay to train on few techniques too, because most of the cars, they are more of height, so you have to learn how to wash the top of the car, so you have to train.
Okay. What do you make of the craze of everyone trying to break something?
Oh, for that, I needed a platform to send a message to people out there. So
what message?
Yeah, so when I thought of the Guinness book, then I said then I should take this advantage to reach the young ladies out there that whenever they needed to do something for a living, they shouldn't be shy of whatever they wanted to do, because someone may ask that why a lady car wash, because there are things that are going on when it comes for someone to do something better for themselves. There is nothing like this is for a man or this is for a lady, so far as the person needed to do something for herself.
Okay. Wow. Message well sent then. Now that you have won, what's next?
Right now we are celebrating.
Right now you are celebrating?
Yeah.
And so after the celebration, what next?
Until further notice.
Until further notice.
Yes, because we are waiting for the certificate and I have no idea about.
Yes, but what's next for you? What would you do personally?
Personally, I'm a student right now, so...
Where?
At Gimpa.
Okay. What are you studying?
Health informatics.
Okay. So you said you wanted to send a message. Did you intend to use the platform for something?
Not really. It's just a message that if I win, then any young lady who hears my voice or sees me somewhere, they should find me as an encouragement to them to do
know that it is possible,
yeah,
right?
It is possible.
Okay. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And congratulations once again.
Thank you very much.
Felicity Asantwa. She's a record holder for Guinness World Record Wash-a-thon. Will you try something else, or once you've done one, you're barred from doing any other thing?
No.
You can try other things.
Yeah, it's open.
It's open.
Yeah.
So would you want to try something else?
No,
not again.
Yeah.
It was difficult, eh?
Highly.
But well done. You did it.
Thank
Congratulations.
you very much.
Stay with us. We'll be back very shortly. And if it's your birthday, but you couldn't send in your wishes, we wish you a very happy birthday. Thank you so much for watching the show. God willing, we'll be back tomorrow, same time, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. Enjoy the rest of your day and have a good morning.